Hi, folks. I'm Peter Lemieux from Batter Sports. My show is called Rounding Third, and I tell baseball stories. And I got another great one for you today. I want to say something. You know, in our environment now, people of different generations don't understand each other. We speak different language. We have different examples. But I'm going to say two lines from a song that it seems like no matter who you are, you kind of know this song. The two lyrics are this: just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took a midnight train going anywhere. Well, whether I got you or not, that of course is Journey's song, Don't Stop Believin'. What has that got to do with baseball? Give me a few minutes and I'm going to explain it. Today I want to focus on the Southsiders of Chicago, the Chicago White Sox organization. I don't want to stress what's going on this year, which is a tragedy, but I want to talk about the history of this team and focus on one major event, okay? I'm going to start off with the Chicago White Sox joined the American League in 1901. It was the first year of that league. They were called the Chicago White Stockings. Now think about this. 1901, we are in our 124th year of the American League. The 8 teams that formed that league are still playing. Several have moved to different cities and changed their names, but the same teams are playing in the American League. In year 1, 1901, the Chicago White Sox won the pennant. Pretty awesome, huh? Well, the only thing is that in 1901, there was no World Series. The World Series didn't come about for a couple of years. The Chicago White Sox have been playing in the American League as a major team for 124 years. In that time, they have been to 5 World Series, only 5. And 3 of them were in the old days. So this is not a team that has had much major success, but they still have very rich history. Let's talk about pennants. They won in 1901, but in 1906, they won the pennant and went to a World Series against, of course, the Northsiders, the Chicago Cubs, who also had a very great team. And they won the World Series. 1906, world champions, Chicago White Sox. It was 11 years later that they went to another World Series against the mighty New York Giants. And in 1917, the White Sox won another World Series. So in 17 years, they've been twice and won both of them. Then the year that changed history for the Chicago White Sox. 1919, they won the pennant and played a World Series against the Cincinnati Reds, which they lost. But afterwards, it was discovered that they had taken money and blown games on purpose. The tragedy of that is baseball. The baseball itself was in trouble because people wondered if they could trust what they were watching, or were all the players on the take. 2 things straightened things out. Number 1, the commissioner suspended for life 8 Chicago White Sox. Movies have been made about them. You folks kind of know that story, but that took care of those guys. Then something else happened a few years later, and that was named Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth came in and changed baseball because he started hitting home runs in an era when nobody did that. What it happened to the White Sox from 1919 till 1959, they never went to a World Series. So 40 years later, they finally made it back to a World Series with the played the Los Angeles Dodgers. They had moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, and they were a fun team. They were called the Go-Go White Sox. I may have talked about them before, but it's a fun story. They lost that World Series 4-2. They did not go back to a World Series for 56 more years. 1959 to 2005. It had been 88 years for the White Sox to win a World Series. So I want to talk a little bit about 2005, and I'll go back to my song. Of course, that's Journey's song, Don't Stop Believin'. The White Sox that year pretty much led the American League from beginning to end. They dominated the American League and won the pennant. One night, while the players were indulging in adult beverages, I'm told, somebody put Don't Stop Believin' on the jukebox. And the players claimed that as their song for the year. So if you were from the South Side or in Chicago during that time, you know Don't Stop Believin' goes with the 2005 White Sox. This White Sox team really was a lot of fun. They were built by the general manager and their new manager, Ozzy Guillen, who I want to talk about last. But they built this team, and everything they tried to do worked. They got speedy Scott Podsednik to lead off. Scott Podsednik stole 59 bases that year. In pitching, they got guys that you probably won't know their names, but they had terrific years. Freddie Garcia, El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, Luis Vizcaino, Justin Hermanson saved 34 games, and a hard-throwing young man named Bobby Jenks. They brought a veteran in named Jermaine Dye, and Jermaine Dye had an exceptional year with power and RBIs. The final ingredient can be they brought in a catcher named A.J. Pierzynski. Now, if you're not old like me, these names won't mean much to you. Pierzynski was a hated opponent when he played for the Twins. He went and signed and played with the Giants. The reason people hated him, he was a fierce competitor who would stop at nothing to try to win a game. He came to this team and he gave an element of urgency. The combination of all these people worked like magic in 2005, led by their very passionate, unpredictable manager, Ozzy Guillen. They went through the season terrific. I must mention the best hitter on that team was Paul Konerko, who was already on the White Sox, but that year he hit 40 home runs, drove in 100 runs, and batted .283. Because they went through the season so comfortably, when it came to the playoffs, the people in Chicago expected them to just move on to the World Series, but there was a playoff against the Angels. And in game one in Chicago, the Angels won 3-2. That put a lot of pressure on the White Sox to win game two at home. This is an amazing game. I want to just give you one highlight. Tied 1-1, Mark Buehrle, their star pitcher, had gone the distance. It were 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. We're heading to extra innings. A.J. Pierzynski appeared to strike out, but for some reason just started running to first and claimed the catcher didn't catch the ball. So they went and looked it over. It looked on video like he did catch it, but possibly something. And wouldn't you know it, the umpires said he didn't catch it. The next batter, Joe Crede, hit a double, and the White Sox won 2-1. Paul Konerko, later in life, said, I think the replay shows the guy caught the ball, and it was strike 3. But that's sports. You're always trying to angle and position your team and get the call. Pierzynski himself said that he had seen that previously, where someone just took off on a low pitch, and the umpires ruled the ball was not caught. So he tried it. and it worked. From then on, the White Sox went crazy. They won the games in LA and went on to the World Series. A couple of things I just want to tell you about. Oh, by the way, in the World Series, 4-0, White Sox. This is, if you ever get videos of the 2005 White Sox, this is a great, fun, winning team. Don't stop believing. A couple of things. Scott Podsednik, 290 with 59 stolen bases. Mark Buehrle, 16 wins. Dustin Hermanson, 34 saves. Jermaine Dye, 31 homers and 86 RBIs. That's our White Sox. But I want to close my story by talking a little bit about Ozzy Guillen. Ozzy Guillen was a shortstop for 16 years on different teams, fiercely competitive with a runaway mouth and temper. To give you an idea, the story is told that after one game in 2005, he went into the locker room and overturned the table with all the food on it and went crazy, screaming at his team because they had struck out 15 times that night. Oh, by the way, they won the game, but he wanted to make his point. Ozzy Guillen later on was managing in Miami and everybody got mad at him, and he lost his job because it was was told that he stated he loved Fidel Castro. There's a funny video of Ozzy talking about that and said, "I don't love Fidel Castro. I don't even love my wife." So we kind of get an idea of how much fun and excitement and passion were composed in this great 2005 team, the Chicago White Sox. So I want to encourage a couple of things. All my subscribers who are wonderful, they always come in with more information, corrections of things I may have said incorrectly, which is great. Let's tell the story about the Don't Stop Believing White Sox of 2005. I want to invite everyone to come and participate. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Join our organization of seam heads who love to tell baseball stories and help me pass these stories on. Remember, I do these stories for my grandchildren, so it's family friendly in terms of language. But I think people spending a few minutes or a half hour remembering and looking up and watching videos of the 2005 White Sox, 88 years between championships. And of course, they haven't been back to the World Series since. But it's a great story. So a credit to the 2005 and to an organization that has been consistent for 124 years of being in the league, competing, and most of the time coming up short. To Don't Stop Believing, 2005 White Sox, hats off. Come and join me in the future for some more Rounding Third, telling baseball stories. I'm Peter Lemieux. We'll see you next time around.